Hey, what's going on YouTube? I am the Mac, and welcome to another session of the TCG Enterprise, where we talk about all your favorite card games. So you guys, we got an awesome deck profile for you today. We have Ancient Warriors. So let's go ahead and get on into it, you guys. This is a updated version that I have with the new guide that just came out. So onto the list, we are going to be going with our 3 Ancient Warrior Rebellious Lu Feng. So basically with Lu Feng is it cannot be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned from your hand by controlling the highest attack of the Ancient Warrior monsters that you control. And then if it's tied, you can only special summon this once per turn. Or even if it's tied, sorry. And then pretty much during the main phase, quick effect, you can destroy one face-up monster your opponent controls with the highest attack, your choice if it's tied. And then you cannot activate monster effects during the turn that you activate this effect, except for Ancient Warriors. Then once per turn during the end phase, if your opponent controls a monster with the highest attack on the field, even if it is tied, you give the control of this card to your opponent. So the good news about this is that you can actually attempt to bounce this back into your hand, or at least remove it from the field, so then that way you don't give it to your opponent for their control, and that actually helps itself out pretty good. Next, we are going to be going with one Ancient Warriors Ambiguous Xiaode. Xiaode is awesome. 3K beat stick, which is great. And then if you control another Ancient Warrior monsters, your opponents cannot declare card effects, basically. And then this cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effect as well, which is great. You can only use one of the effects each per turn, so you can have your when one of your cards that your opponent controls is destroyed by battle or card effect, then you can send another card from your hand or the field to the graveyard, and then you can special summon this guy from your hand. Then if this destroys an opponent's monster by the battle and send it to the graveyard, you basically steal that and you can bring it into your under your own control, which is really good. Then we run one of the biggest guys into this deck, even though he has the smallest stats, it's still relevant. And we are running Sun Mu. So Sun Mu basically acts as a Rota, reinforcement of the army. It also acts as a Compulse. So pretty much if you have another Ancient Warrior out, then you can go ahead and bring him out. And then while you have another one here, you can control this card for attacks. And then at the same time, you can also bounce one monster your opponent controls back into the hand, and then you can also search for an Ancient Warrior monster to your hand, as long as you send out for one card that you control into the graveyard, which is really good. I mean, from your hand, into the graveyard, and then you can go ahead and search, which is great. Then we're going to be running 3 of our Ancient Warriors Loyal Guan Yun. Guan Yun will go ahead and special summon himself out as a Cyber Dragon if your control of only your opponent controls a monster, not you. Then you can not target other Ancient Warriors you control with card effects, so you can basically have multiple lockdowns with these guys, which is awesome. And then at the same time, if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, then you can target one monster that your opponent controls and destroy it. You can only do this effect once per turn, but nonetheless, it's still good enough to have just for that moment, especially if you're trying to get a full board set up for an OTK. Speaking of for OTKs, this guy could come out too. This guy is the Valiant Zhang Di. I hope I'm saying these names right. It's taken a while for me to actually do this, but nonetheless, this guy will gain 300 attack for each monster that your opponent controls during your turn only. And then if you control 2 or more Ancient Warriors, you can special summon this guy from the hand. And then at the same time, if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, he can make up to 2 attacks during the battle phase, which is great. Then we have 3 of our Virulous Yuswan. Pretty much while you control another Ancient Warrior monster, they cannot target it for attack, so you could basically pull a Marauding Captain. Lockdown. At the same time, if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, then send out for the one from a hand or field or the graveyard to special summon an Ancient Warrior from the deck, except for Lu Swan. And then at the same time, when the attack is declared involving the Ancient Warrior monsters you control, you draw 1 card. So that's your draw power for the deck, which is really, really, really nice. And then we have 1 Zhuge Kong. Zhuge Kong is awesome. If he gets added into the hand, you can special summon it right away. And at the same time, you can force out a negation by sending out a card that you control, which is great. Then this guy is actually new that I'm putting in here, but this guy is really awesome. This is Ancient Warriors Lu Jin, Eccentric Lu Jin. So you can target a continuous spell or trap that you control and send to the graveyard, and then if you do, add an Ancient Warriors spell or trap with a different name from the graveyard to the hand. And then if your other Ancient Warriors monster's effects is activated, except during the damage step, then you can target the spell or trap that your opponent controls and destroy it. You can only use it once per turn, but it's still really good, and I really enjoy this guy. He's really, really good, and I can't wait to use him. And then as far as our monsters go with our hand traps, we're just going to be running 3 Ash Blossom. It's one of the best hand traps into the game, second to none really to anything else. And so that's basically it for our full-on monster lineup. Now let's go ahead and get on with the spells. So with our spell lineup, we are going to be going with 3 Fire Formation Tiansu. The Tiansu, during the main phase only, you get an additional normal summon. At the same time, your Beast Warriors will gain up 100 attack. So, and you only gain it once per turn, but it's a continuous, which is great. Then we have 3 Fire Formation Tanki. Tanki basically lets you add out for a level 4 or lower Beast Warrior type monster from the deck to the hand. Then all the Beast Warriors will gain an attack boost of 100, which is really good. And so I run 3 of those. I might change out for the rotation on towards these things, but let me know what you guys think down below. And then we're going to be running 3 of the Ancient Warriors Saga, the 3 Visits. 3 Visits is awesome. It basically acts itself as a Black Whirlwind for the deck. Pretty much if you normal summon or special summon an Ancient Warrior monster, then you target one of those monsters, and then you add an Ancient Warrior with a different name from your deck to your hand. And then if it was sent from the field through the spell and trap zone to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 Ancient Warrior from the hand, and you only use it out for once per turn. And then you basically send this out after your second activation on the second standby phase. So pretty much all the continuous Ancient Warrior spells will basically send themselves out during the second standby phase, but that's okay. Then we have 2 of the Ancient Warrior Saga, the Borrowing of Arrows. I only run the 2. Most people can run 3. It's whatever to your preference. But pretty much you can target out for 1 monster of bone controls and 1 Ancient Warrior control. Till the end of this turn, you have the attack of the opponent's monster and add it to your own. And then at the same time, if you control Ancient Warriors with 2 or more different attributes, you could place 1 Ancient Warrior's continuous spell or trap from your hand or deck to the face up on towards your field. And then you can only use the effects for the Ancient Warrior Borrowing Arrows only once per turn. So, but that's still pretty good. I like it. Then we have 1 Alliance, which is really good. If you control an Ancient Warrior monster with 2 or more different attributes, you can declare 1 attribute, and then the selected attribute your opponent cannot control with the attribute. So basically, let's say you count out for dark, now they can't have dark on their field. If you do. And then pretty much it has to be in contrast to one of your attributes in the same time. But they basically cannot activate the effects of the monsters that they have, actually, I should say. And then at the same time, the activate and the Ancient Warriors effect, you can make all Ancient Warriors you control to gain 300 attack until the end phase, even if this card had left the field, which was really good, and you can only use its effect once per turn. But it's still a really good thing to have. Most people don't run it, but that, I mean, that's, like I said, your preference. Then we have 3 East by South Winds. This one's very interesting. This one had just came out a while back. But pretty much you must send this card into the graveyard during the second standby phase after the activation. But then, during your main phase, if you toss a coin, if the result is a heads, you send this card to the graveyard. And then if this card is sent from the field, from the spell and trap zone to the graveyard, you can activate the effect. This turn, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to the activation of the Ancient Warrior monsters that you control with the cards, effects, the cards and the effects, and also until the end of the turn. And then all Ancient Warriors gain this effect. So when this card declares an attack, you destroy one card your opponent controls, which is really, really good. It basically acts as a catastrophe, which is really nice. It pops out for one card that your opponent controls. Then we have one mind control. It's a mind control. It's always good to have a mind control. We have one called by the grave. It's called by the grave. One Harpy's Feather Duster because it's Harpy's Feather Duster. One Raigeki. It's Raigeki. And then that's basically it for the spells. Now on towards the traps, we only run one. And that's basically all we could be set out for there. If you want to run impermanence, that's fine. That's your preference there, but I don't run it. The only thing I run is the one Saga, the Defiance of the Chanving. So pretty much, if your Ancient Warrior monsters battle and your opponent cannot activate spells or traps till the end of the damage step, so basically your Ancient Warriors will act as Ancient Gears. And then at the start of the battle phase, during your opponent's battle phase, you send this face-up card from the spell and trap zone. The monster your opponent controls cannot target Ancient Warriors for an attack this turn, which helps. At the same time, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can banish this card from the graveyard and then special summon an Ancient Warrior from your deck, which is really good. On towards the extra deck. I don't really have much out for towards the side deck, so we'll just go right into on towards the extra deck. We're going to be going with one Black Rose Dragon. Why it supplies itself as towards our nuke. We have a level 4, and our Ash is a level 3, and then it's a tuner. What else could you say? We also have one Time Frame Lord Omega. Why? For the same scenario there, it's a level 8. We have out, we could stack, which is good. On towards our links, we are going to be going with our 3 Double Dragon Lords. This helps out so much. You link out for the 2 there, and basically this guy will get a pump-up attack. All Ancient Warrior monsters you currently control will gain the 500 attack and defense, including this guy. And then at the same time, you can only use one of each of the effects of him once per turn. So basically he acts as a Rhoda, and he also acts as a Compulse. So he basically does the same thing as Sun Mu, which is really good. Then we have one Nightmare Phoenix. The Nightmare Phoenix, of course, link in, and then if it was set up, you can draw the one card, and then you can pop one card your opponent controls, which is great. On towards our exceeds, we have one Daigusto Emerald, so that we can get our draw power for the deck, because why not? One Time Thief Redoer, depending on what is placed out for your opponent's top deck, then that way you can go ahead and use the following effects. One Extinction Knight, it's Extinction Knight, why not? One Tornado Dragon for our pop. And then our one Dark Rebellion Dragon, because we have level 4s and Dark Rebellion is awesome. Then we also have one Abyss Dweller, so we have for our Graveyard Hate. One Silent Honor Arc, it's a water, but at the same time we could take one monster that the opponent had, which is great, and then add it as a material, which is good. And then we also use for our combo setup, so we have one Bahamut Shark, and one Totally Awesome because it's totally awesome. And at the same time, we have a lot of water attributes into this deck, which helps out to go ahead and stack out for the Bahamut Shark, to go ahead and bring out for Totally Awesome. Anyways, so that's it for the deck. Do you guys have any tips and tricks on towards that? Feel free to go ahead and comment down below, and I'll feel free to go ahead and add that as an insight. But till then, if you guys enjoyed what you guys saw here, please go ahead and like this video and also subscribe. Hit that notification bell for more, and I'll see you guys in the next time. Happy gaming.